the Q just let us know that members of the clergy and the media are involved with the CIA. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. First, I want to thank all of my subscribers, as I always do. You guys are really what make this channel possible, and everyone who's commenting on the boards, because without you guys, this channel will be nothing, and I'm always thankful for each and every one of you, and I encourage everybody who hasn't yet to come to this big landing page and hit the big red subscribe button. Go ahead and hit the bell for notifications if you want to get my videos as they are made available, because I will make this information available to you as it becomes available to me. But now getting into the Q posts, this is where we left off, and we got into some very interesting stuff last video, so if anybody hasn't seen that, go ahead and you can watch it. It'll probably be in the next play, or you can go to my page and find that video. But here's Q saying he's given us two posts to two different intelligence documents. And the first says, it says right here, why are the above public declassified documents highly protected? Well, and then he goes on here to say scroll through both docs, and we're going to do that because I've taken some time. I've read through both the documents pretty closely, and I found a few interesting things that I think should be brought to our attention. So we'll start here with the intelligence Senate document here from the Select Committee on Intelligence. Now this is basically it's like a transcribed hearing from the CIA's use of journalists and clergy in intelligence operations. And this was from 1996, and it's from the Select Committee on Intelligence. And you can read through this for yourself. You guys see the link or saw the link. You guys can definitely pop that in. But there's a lot of information here. But what it's ultimately painting a picture of is the fact that there are several assets, intelligence assets, that are being used by the CIA, who are actually active members of the clergy and of the media, which I think we all knew, but it's almost an investigation into that, and they're asking a lot of poignant questions about what the intelligence agencies knew, and may there be representatives of the CIA in the media. And then it goes into a lot of different people who are raising issues, who are giving input. But I encourage every one of you to go read it. It's a little too much to go through all here on the video, because if I did that, it would take pretty much an hour to go through, and I don't think we have that, or I don't really have that kind of time to get into that kind of detail on this particular subject, because it is open source. It's out there for everyone to go check out. This is not a state-held secret. This isn't like classified documents. These are just unredacted, released versions of the actual transcription of the hearing, which are publicly available for each and every one of you. And I encourage each and every one of you to go ahead and type in, type in this URL, and you'll see the intelligence.senate.gov sites hearing CI, and it will take you directly to that document. Now, here's another great instance, and we will go a little bit more into this one, because this one's a little more fascinating to me, and it's a little bit easier to draw some actual points out of. But this was released under the John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Collection Act of 1992. And it's a document that is basically it's a whole set of correspondences between Admiral Turner, who's the director of, I want to say he's Naval Intelligence, or something to that degree, or Central Intelligence Director, the CIA director, and then Moynihan Foundry, who is a Congress member, and they're actually talking about clergymen, and it all starts with this letter from Admiral Turner, where he had been had an inquiry on you know, about U.S. journalists that are employed by the Central Intelligence Agency, and he basically says, my predecessors have established a policy of not disclosing the names of persons who have cooperated with us. I am enclosing a copy of the agency's statement on the subject. So here's the agency statement on this topic of clergymen and media members who are working with the CIA. And it reads, over the years, the CIA has had relationships with individuals in many walks of American life. These relationships, many of voluntary and unpaid nature, have reflected the desire of Americans to help their country. Such relationships have been conducted by the agency with the clear intent of furthering its foreign intelligence mission, and have not been aimed at influencing or improperly acting on any American institution. Genuine concern has recently been expressed about CIA relations with newsmen and churchmen. The agency does not believe there has been any impropriety on its part in the limited use made of persons connected in some way with American media, church, and missionary organizations. Nonetheless, CIA recognizes the special status afforded these institutions under our Constitution, and in order to avoid any appearance of improper use by the agency, the DCI has decided on a revised policy to govern agency relations with these groups, effective immediately. CIA will not enter into any paid or contractual relationship with any full-time or part-time news correspondent accredited by any U.S. news service, newspaper, periodical, radio, or television network or station. Another one. As soon as feasible, the agency will bring existing relationships with individuals in these groups into conformity with this new policy. Further, it says the CIA has no secret paid or contractual relationship with any American clergyman or missionary. This practice will be continued as a matter of policy. CIA recognizes that members of these groups may wish to provide information to the CIA on matters of foreign intelligence of interest to the United States government. The CIA will continue to welcome information volunteered by such individuals. It is agency policy not to divulge the names of cooperating Americans. In this regard, CIA will not make public now or in the future the names of any cooperating journalist or churchman. So I think that last paragraph, even in their own statement here, which I don't know if you can see when this was drafted. Yeah, 1976 was when they drafted this and sent this to Congress as an explanation for the accusation that there were clergymen and media men working with the CIA. But it says right here that even if they're like, well, even if we have these sources and they still do exist, as it kind of lays out up here, or they're volunteers who they don't actively recruit, that they'll never tell us who they are anyway. And that's back from 1976. So, and then we have this letter that's written, and it goes through a few different letters. But you see here that there's some corrections. There's some drafts that I guess were marked off because they didn't work. See here you have the record sheet. I think this is a picture of the envelope that this would have been sent in. It's kind of like a correspondence envelope where you put the name of who's sending it. It's like this is what email was back in the 70s. So, and then they would give it all these marks that would depict who's getting a copy and who's gonna be asked to respond and all of that stuff. And then you have a letter from, I want to say, this is from Walter Foundry, who's a member of Congress, to Admiral Turner, and he's basically just continuing to say they're looking for objective news reporting, and they think that there's people who are actively working to hinder the JFK assassination investigation, basically. And I think the implication through a lot of this is that there are people who were working actively to suppress information regarding JFK's assassination in both the media and the clergy who are working on behalf of the CIA. And that's pretty much what you get the gist of when you're reading these. And they include all the personal notes here, and just going forward. This is all kind of documenting that it's all kind of real, and you have this correspondence where they're basically going back and forth, and Admiral Turner just keeps saying, well, you don't, the Central Intelligence Agency, or it says there are no U.S. journalists employed by the Central Intelligence Agency. I don't personally believe that, but I don't have any proof otherwise, outright proof at this point. But I can tell you right now that it's very suspicious that this investigation's been going on since the 70s. And but could you imagine that, if that's their stance then and where we're at now, how bad have things gotten, right? So now we have another one. This is I think this is like a news ticker from the CIA where they get their info, but there's a little part that's like kind of highlighted here, and I'll just read it to you so that you guys can make your own minds up. And I encourage you to check out these documents for yourself, but I've looked through them and they're pretty fascinating. It says the committee has no plans to call reporters to probe their coverage, said Foundry. I do have a personal interest in finding out whether certain news reporters have another purpose other than dissemination of the news to the public. Foundry cited a 1973 story in the Washington Star-News reporting the CIA had some 40 journalists as undercover contacts. One of those identified has been assigned to cover our committee, so that would be the Select Committee on Intelligence. It says, I want to know if any of the other 39 are covering our committee, said Foundry. The journalist cited by Foundry was Jeremiah O'Leary, a reporter for the Star. The newspaper said he was not paid by the CIA, but only passed on information he picked up during foreign assignments. O'Leary is presently recovering in hospital from a heart attack. Heart attack, And this was all around the time that they came out with the heart attack gun, and we all know that. It's like a little gun that shoots a cyanide pill in ice or something that basically, can kill you and then not leave a trace, which is very scary for most people who deal with this stuff, I'm sure, because, if they can make it look like a heart attack and get rid of you, then what else can they do? I mean, they can do pretty much anything at that point. And this is all about calling them into... I call on every one of my viewers here to look at this information and be a judge for yourself. Don't listen to me. Listen to yourself and make your own sense out of it. But going forward, there is this next one, which is a memo for the record, and it's talking about the staff journalists and how who was used for what and there's a lot here. So it's talking about how people may have made decisions because they wanted to keep harm from happening to others. But I mean, ultimately, it's talking about how the three staff journalists actively used by the CIA. So there's CIA being used to create journalist stories, to create stories and to manufacture information, and that but it's kind of justifying what they're doing. So you guys put that together how you may, but going down, we have even more. It says that there's some news clippings attached here that I want to get down to, because a lot of this is just the back and forth of them going over what these news articles had, and here's one, right? And this is the Washington Star-News, where you see it says journalists doubling as CIA contacts. I'm sorry, it's sideways, but and that was by Oswald Johnson. And that's kind of what they're going over, is who and how these people were named, and maybe giving the justification for what they're doing. Here's another relevant article, and let me see. I think. I don't know if this is from that same paper. This is the continuation of the headline. Probably. but it says newsmen supply data to CIA. And even they're crossing things out. It was almost like somebody took this and wanted to redact it, even though it's already been printed, which is fascinating. But like here's parts that are kind of like underlined, and you talk about the Watergate scandal, and then this kind of paragraph here is kind of blocked out where it says O'Leary was mentioned in a category of newsmen who occasionally exchanged information with the CIA officials in the routine performance of journalistic duties without any monetary considerations. Interviews with CIA station chiefs or lesser officials in overseas posts are not uncommon practices for correspondents of most major publications in the performance of their news gathering functions. Normally, however, it is not considered part of the journalistic function to provide information to government agents. So, the information's here. There's a few other parts. I think this is a continuation of the same article, I think. But in here, there's another blocked and underlined part where it says, in this group, sources indicated the CIA includes Star News reporter Jeremiah O'Leary, whose name apparently found its way into agency files as a result of contacts of this professional type during assignment overseas for the Star News. So it's pointing out that these people are all kind of involved in, and this has been going on since the 70s, I think, is the implication here from Q, to tie it all back to what he's saying. Now we go through this, and there's more here about distributing this information, and this is the same, like I said, the email sheet where it shows who got it when and where and what classification the material was. But then at the end here, there is something very fascinating that I want to cover, and it is this. Okay, so I think this is a letter draft. I'm not sure if it was actually sent or if this was a draft, where you have Admiral Stansfield Turner of the U.S. Navy, who's writing, I think this is like the Department of Naval Intelligence before it was really named that. I'm not sure. But he's saying right here that I didn't read the articles that you gave me, which is, I'm sure that's not true. I'm sure you read that, right? And then it says, the suspicions of Delegate Foundry, that members of the media are subverting his investigation into the assassination. He's basically saying, I will support him with full information on the role of the CIA in the past and today. In our conversation yesterday, I failed to thank you for your significant helpful contribution to the discussion at our hearing at Edmund Wilson case last Friday. I certainly thought that you put your finger on the problem when you pointed out that if CIA does not get ahead of these issues, which are raised in the public forum, we may lose the great value which the intelligence agency can provide to our country. I had your thought very much in front of me all weekend as I worked to resolve this particular problem. So basically what they're saying there is that if they don't have, if they don't get in front of this issue in order to keep the public from knowing that the clergymen and the media are working together with the CIA, then they'll lose that valuable asset, which, I kind of tend to agree with to a certain extent, but I think it's gotten so out of hand now that it's being used for political purposes, and I don't think that was ever intended. I think it was only intended originally for intelligence gathering purposes to save American lives and to promote American prosperity globally. But instead, it's been used now as an internal weapon that's used against their political rivals, so that the party who's in the faction who's in the most control, or the controlling party, has the ability to basically subvert or undermine the campaign efforts of normal American citizens who were never supposed to be the target of this kind of intelligence gathering or this kind of espionage acting. So that in and of itself is scary. But this looks like a note that was put on a piece of paper and just thrown it at this, which I think was somebody giving him a. It's from somebody named Jurger. I can't read that signature, but it's a letter about this letter, I believe, and it says, Admiral, I would suggest taking out the last two sentences of paragraph 1 and all of paragraph 2. They sound bad, or what is that? Mod? Nod? I don't know. Sorry. You guys will, I'm sure, will tell me in the comments. It says all we need is a statement letter signed by you saying that we slash the CIA would be happy to assist Foundry in investigating the press. Oh my. ... Gur or Jur, whoever that is. It says revised letter attached. Okay, so wow, you know, you guys put together with this what you may. All I know is that there's a lot to be looked at here, and I just want to thank everybody for coming out. You guys can come here. Here's another picture of the articles if you guys want to copy and paste that into your own browser. However, pause it and look at them. And then you can read it for yourself. But that's kind of my take on it. But this is a disturbing trend, and we need to be cognizant, and we need to work together to get this information out there so that we can stop this from happening to us. And but without further ado, I just want to take a second and say that God's grace is greater, and without Him, none of this would certainly be possible. And we just need to stick together as Christians. And I think for everyone out there, I pray for you guys to be happy and healthy and successful. And I really, truly want the best for each and every one of you. So I hope that you'll consider opening your hearts to the Lord and letting Him come in, because without the Lord, nothing is really possible. We can't have the greatness that we need and the power and the strength that we need that we can get from Him, that's readily available as long as we can open our heart and our soul to Him and His glory. So take that away if you don't take anything else away from this video. But without much ado, I'll just say thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my Patreon page here. Thank you for everybody who's supported it so far. And if you guys want to continue to get involved, you can check me out on Twitter at Justin_formed. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'm Craig. This is Justin Formed Talk. God bless and Godspeed.